Hi everyone, I've got a real treat for you. I've persuaded Olga Rumble of the Rose Tree to come along and talk to us about her journey. As you know, I announced recently that the Rose Tree's secured some great export orders. And it's lovely to see these great announcements in the group, but you often don't appreciate what the entrepreneur has actually been there to get to this stage. So, hi Olga, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi Melinda, thank you for having me.
And perhaps you would start by telling everyone about the Rose Tree and about how you actually got the idea and started it.
Sure. Well, it was 4 or 5 years ago now, and in a nutshell, I had no intention to start a business. I didn't start out with that objective at all. This journey has been all been a little bit upside down. But I had a corporate career. I worked in London. I worked with some big publishing houses. I worked with big newspapers, and I spent most of my life commuting backwards and forwards, essentially in and out of London. And I did that for quite a few years, and I got to a point where, frankly, I decided that this is what I want to do forever. And so I didn't really have that much of a life. My stress levels were up, and I suffer with things like eczema and dermatitis. And the more stressed I am, the worse it is. So essentially, I walked away from all of that. Took some time out, not with a view to setting up a business, but frankly, just stopping and just taking some time out. And as part of that, I kind of wanted to do some things for me. And I'd always been fascinated with aromatherapy, with flowers and botanicals and how they're used. And so I did some courses essentially for my own interest. I learned how to make soap. I learned how to make.
Thing you did, the soap?
It is, I think. Yeah, I learned how to make soap, and I started, I don't know, mixing up, sort of basic sort of, I don't know, body butters and what have you in my kitchen. And that's where it all started.
Okay, so from there, at what point did you decide to turn it into a business?
I think at that point, I had no intention of setting it up as a business. And it was only when I sort of started sharing some of these products that I'd made for my own use, really. And a lot of my friends were like, oh, well, actually, could you make me some of this? What about, I'd like something for me. And what about for oily skin? What about for dry skin? And that's how it started. So literally, it was very accidental. And it was more about solving a problem. And the intention, even at that point, was even when I had these sort of my friends asking me to make this.
You've frozen.
Stuff. I saw this as a little sideline. Oh, right. Can you hear me still?
Yes, I can hear you. Yep.
Got you. And I think at that point, I thought, well, perhaps I could do it as a little sideline. The intention was always to kind of go back to work at some point. And maybe I thought I could have a little online store. And that's where I'd started. That's where it started. And it's only at that point, and then over the last few years, it's grown significantly.
Okay, so when you decided to make it a business, what did you do in terms of research?
Not enough, I think, is probably the learning in hindsight. Because I didn't think about setting it up in that way, I didn't do very much. I mean, I looked around to see what other people were doing. I looked around to see, what other brands were doing and what was selling, and what the new brands were sort of in the green beauty market. And 5-6 years ago, it wasn't as competitive as it is now. There were not as many startups as you see every day popping up currently. And as I say, definitely my hindsight was that I didn't do sufficient research. All the things that I've learned subsequently that I should have done, and I've had to think about kind of the upside down, the wrong way around. At that point, I hadn't done any of them. I didn't really have a clear understanding who my customer was. I didn't really understand my routes to market. I hadn't thought about, what sort of business I wanted. And as I say, so all of that I've done subsequently.
Okay, so I mean, up until recently, your main vehicle has been selling online, and you've been doing a great job with your social media. I mean, I'm constantly getting lovely newsletters from you. So are you handling all that yourself?
Most of it, yes. So I do have I do have some help. So I work with, I have a few ladies that help me sort of with some of the administration tasks and some of the social media. So I started off doing it all myself because obviously that's where everyone starts. And I now have a lady that helps me essentially with some of my Instagram social media. I also use a scheduling tool.
Right.
And that makes, because I mean, and I think you learn with social media, it's about consistency. And I found it too hard to try and, always be on the back foot. It's like, damn, I haven't put a post out on Facebook. So I use a scheduling tool, and I really do plan in advance now. And I find that makes my life a lot easier.
Okay. So when you came to me, I think it was probably about three years ago, you did 2 sets of mentoring, didn't you? And then the top up.
Yes.
I think
yes.
you did, didn't you? So
yes.
what did you feel at that stage? Why did you feel that was the point where you had to actually reach out and get some help?
Sorry, Melinda, you cut out there. I missed the first part. Yeah.
What was going on at the stage where you felt you actually had to reach out and get some help? What did you think you needed help with?
I think initially I had some products, and I think we might even won an award or 2 by that point. So I was like super excited. It's like it's great, And I think I had this rather naive view that actually that was it. I had these products, I had a great shop window, and I was going to have these sales that were kind of, that were just going to hit me. And it doesn't quite work like that. And I think it was at that point that I contacted you initially to actually help clarify my thinking about where I should be focusing, etc., and routes to market.
Okay, because from what I remember, you had a professionally done website at the time.
Yes.
So you'd obviously invested a fair bit. Your branding was lovely, and that didn't change. But I think when we first started, I sort of pushed you to. I felt that the website looked a bit tired and that it needed to be more cutting edge. And
yes.
The direction that we decided on, also that wasn't totally evident at that time, was the emphasis on it being a British brand.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. And I think that I had this idea that I wanted to be British, and I wanted to be, kind of using the best ingredients. I wanted to be targeting these people here and these people here, and none of that, unless you have a huge budget, is achievable. So I think what I took away from that first round of mentoring was really just to kind of clarify what the brand is about and where I wanted to focus. And it was a hard lesson to learn, because I think that I'm pretty sure I'm like, I want to do all of this. It's like, no. It's like, and without, I mean, all I would say is to these people at the startup stage of the business, it's so important to think about and really niche down, really understand who your customer is and what you're targeting, because everything else becomes a lot easier. All of your messaging, what's the right products to bring out, but without, when you're trying to be everything to everyone, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, you also have a great service ethic, because you've got, your packaging's beautiful. When somebody orders online from you, and I know because I've done it, it arrives beautifully with a little free something or other. So there's this great sense, I think what you've really achieved there is this great sense of personal connection with your customers. Do you find you get a lot of repeat business?
Oh, that's it. You're unfrozen again. Yeah.
Okay.
And absolutely. And that's really important. That's very important for me. So I think, certainly there are so many brands that do such a shoddy sort of customer service job. And I part of what I want to do is, with great products comes great customer service. And I find that it's helpful, because that sort of that personal connection with my customers means that they kind of chat to me, they talk to me, they email me. It's like, Olga, we saw this was coming out, would this work for me? And so it actually works quite well, and that's quite important.
Right. So there's a fair bit of repeat business, and they're feeling like they're part of your community and your growth. And do you share your successes with them? Are you telling them that you're exporting?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and funny enough, I sent a note out. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's just because, you know, they're part of it.
yeah,
They were there at the beginning. So they'll love that. They'll
yeah.
celebrate that with you.
Absolutely, and they're very loyal. They're very loyal because you know, they've seen this journey. They've seen, you know, they've actually been on the journey with me. So, you know, you start off with just a few products, and you know, and you've asked them, well, you know, would you like me to think about this? What product would you like me to bring out next? And you know, so it's really nice. It's very nice, and yeah. And when I sent the email out about Malaysia, actually, to my group, my email list, I had a response back from a guy, and I do have guys that buy, but the majority of my customers are ladies. And I got this email back from a guy that said, "My God, you're going to Malaysia. What am I going to do? I'm not going to buy your products." Like, no, you've misunderstood. You can still buy my products. You can just buy them in Malaysia as well. Oh, okay. It was quite strange, but I was like, hey.
Oh, that's nice. That's great.
It is nice. Exactly. It's nice. Yeah. It's like, well, somebody noticed. Somebody reads those emails,
Okay.
which is good.
So I mean, if I pick on one thing about your journey that sort of resonates with me, it's how persistent you've been, because it's been a long haul for you. I mean,
it has been a long haul. Yes.
How have you kept your spirits going? How have you kept your motivation going through this?
I think it comes down to how badly you want it. I mean, it has been a long haul, and there've been lots of ups and downs, and even with, you know, the recent success we've had with export, I guess the message I'd like to convey is that while it's really exciting and we've kind of worked very hard to get to this point, there are still more challenges ahead. So each stage brings new challenges. And I think it does come down to how badly you want it. And
so what do you think is your biggest challenge?
I mean, for almost 5 years now that we've been doing this, and I mean, I've balanced 2 jobs because I had to pay the bills, and like many other entrepreneurs, you know, that's life. And I don't have children. I don't have children to manage, so I'm not sure I would have made it, you know. And I know a lot of ladies are juggling this with looking after their families as well. I mean, the reality is that it's not quite so glamorous as the website looks. You know, essentially what it means most of the time is that you're kind of, you know, you're packing boxes, you are making the products, you are, you know, you're liaising with.
You've got to delegate.
Absolutely, exactly. I know. Yeah, well,
and there's this critical
I'm looking forward to discussing that with you. Sorry?
There's this critical time.
That's our
yeah. And there's this time
absolutely
where you don't feel, you know, it's such a leap to take people on to do it, money wise. You know, and you can't see, and it's the same with contract manufacturing, I think, when you've got to order large quantities, and it's just mentally being able to say to yourself, I am going to sell these, and I am going to be able to pay this person, providing I've got the time myself to move this business forward. And that's absolutely that's the leap.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, you become more selfish with your time as well. So, you know, I recognize now that there's not much point in me, you know, pushing boxes out and, you know, labeling boxes. You know, actually, I need to be spending my time looking for new sales. I need to spend my time, you know, working out essentially, you know, the messaging that, you know, that we've got for new products through the year. And, you know, and Malaysia are asking me about, so, you know, can we have, I don't know, you know, a spring flavored box? What specials are you going to do for Christmas? All of this type of thing. So, you know, it's, you become, I mean, it took me a while. It took me quite a long while to get to this point, but you realize it's not possible. It's not sustainable to be doing everything yourself. And you can't do it all. It's, you know, you just put yourself under tremendous pressure as well.
Actually, that's interesting, because one of the bits of advice that I give people on the program is to start with a hero product. And one of the reasons for that is because if you're lucky enough to get your big break and be taken up by a major store or an export order or whatever, they are constantly going to be on your back to come up with new ideas and new product. So that's the time to deliver it, because a lot of people feel they've got to have all that at the beginning. And then, you're still going to get the pressure. However many products you present, they're going to want
Yes,
something new.
they were going to want something, exactly. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's one of those lessons that, you know, that I learned, and had I not done this sort of upside down,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I wouldn't have started out with as many products as I did, and it was only because, as I say, we did it the sort of upside down that I did. And actually, I actually got rid of some of my products. I don't know whether you recall, but we streamlined the product range.
Well, axe this.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly that. And as I say, we've come full circle now. And as I say, because we're getting requests for, right, can you bring out this? I want a different type of product. What about hair products? Can we do this? Can you do that? And as you say, the pressure is on. So with distributors, and with with Malaysia, for example, they, as you say, they all want something new. So
I mean, it can just be packaging. It can be the same thing done in a different format. You've got to be clever about that.
Yes.
So tell me just a little bit, and you can be as honest as you like here, because I actually want people to know what the mentoring experience is like. But some people tell me I'm terribly scary. And I'm aware often that if I go into a brand that's already established, and I will start saying, look, actually this has got to be done differently, and that's got to be done differently, and I'll do it with great concern, because I know they've already spent a lot of money on it. But how does it feel to be at the other end of that?
I wouldn't describe it as scary. Scary is not the word I use. I mean, I think you have to have an open mind. I mean, if you're investing in mentoring, there's an underlying reason, and I'm guessing at some level that means you're not getting the success that you really want for your brand. And I think we all maybe have an idea of where we're going wrong and where we think we want to go. But all I would say is, if you're going to invest in mentoring, what you want to do is you want to go with an open mind and essentially be open to perhaps things that you haven't thought about. And that sometimes doesn't make for easy listening. I do know that. I've been there myself.
Okay. So, so where are you going to be in 2 years' time? What's the plan?
We're very much focusing on the side of the business that has been the most successful, I guess, sort of, or the biggest opportunity. So Asia is a big target country, target area for us. Obviously, we're now in place in Malaysia, so the idea is to expand into more of Metro stores. We're also we've just signed a contract with South Korea. Oops, can you?
Yeah, can you? That was me. That was me going way.
I know. Oh well, you know how much of a slog it's been. Yeah. And we're talking to suppliers elsewhere, so in Hong Kong, and we're even talking with a partner in Australia as well. So lots of potential sort of opportunities on the horizon. And we're also looking at some other areas in Europe as well. So I've now got a distributor in Bulgaria, and that's quite interesting, because the market is relatively new and not quite so competitive as it is here, for example, in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's very interesting, actually, because I have a client in Bulgaria who's finding distribution really, really hard.
Funny, isn't it?
Yeah, and there you are getting straight in. So that's
yes.
But that's about the British thing.
Exactly, it is. And I know you said that originally, when we'd had those mentoring sessions, and I think you'd asked me about, well, look, what was that real peg I wanted to hang my hat from, and and I wasn't sure. I mean, I knew British was important, but I think I had 10 other things that were important as well. And I think one of the things I'd learned was that it's so key to kind of to niche down, and I think that is why we've been so successful on the export side. It is very much about the Britishness, the British thing. There's a real demand for British products.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I better let you go get on with your busy day, but thank you so much for sharing that. And
You're very welcome. You're
I'm going
very
to
welcome.
I'm going to interview you again in 2 years' time, and
Okay.
I'll have to go through 6 secretaries, I'm sure, to get that interview by then. It's going to be great. But it's just been lovely to share the journey with you, and so well done, because I probably know more than most what it's taken for you, and
Yeah.
well done, well done, well
No,
done.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. As I said, the mentoring and all the support was absolutely invaluable. So as I say, I think perhaps I would have given up somewhere, I don't know, between years 2 and 3 otherwise.
Okay. All right, Olga. Take care. Thank
All
you
right,
so
thanks.
much.
All right, thanks, Melinda.
Bye.
Bye.